Imagine the upsets. If the Warriors lose to the Kings, do they blow the team up? Draymond could leave in free agency. Why not shop Jordan Poole after the year he had? But what if Philly gets embarrassed? Does that guarantee James Harden goes back to Houston with maybe Jaylen Brown if the Celtics lose? Let's predict the playoffs because a lot is on the line besides the chip. East first round, Milwaukee in 5. The Bucks are so good, they miss Giannis for 19 games, Chris Middleton for 49 games, still had the best record in the NBA. This was the easiest series to predict. Let's move on. Cleveland over the Knicks in 6. I love the story of the Knicks, but they are so overrated. Cleveland has the #1 defense in the NBA with Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and Isaac Okoro, and Julius Randle is banged up. They need him 100% to win this series, but Donovan Mitchell in New York, dude loves to make them regret not trading for him last summer. He averages 32 points a game against the Knicks this season. It'll be fun, him against Jalen Brunson, but the Knicks have no chance. Philly over Brooklyn in 5. The Nets are a fun team, they've got depth, but the Sixers are finally healthy in the playoffs and elite. Joel Embiid is my MVP, and remember last year's first round? They got up 3-0 against the Raptors, but they pushed them to game 6. That is fresh in Philly's mind, and they are going to be laser focused in this first round. The Celtics over the Hawks in 5. Atlanta was so impressive beating the Heat, but when the Celtics attack Trae Young, it is different. This play is a perfect example. Jaylen Brown goes at Trae, which draws other defenders, kick out to Al Horford, who hits the 3. See, the Heat couldn't really do that with their awful offense, but Boston has killers at every position to make them pay. Now, they could get overconfident and maybe drop one game. The Nuggets win their first round in 5 games, and it doesn't matter if they play the Timberwolves or the Thunder. The Nuggets will win. I think it's a tougher series if it's the T-Wolves. They have Rudy Gobert, who I know everyone likes to hate on, but he is a great interior defender. But no one is picking the Nuggets to get upset. The Suns beat the Clippers in 5. I wouldn't have given him a chance with Paul George. Now dude is out. Kawhi is going to have to carry the offense with Russell Westbrook, who has been awful in the playoffs for like the last 10 years. They've got wing defenders like Kawhi and Marcus Morris and Robert Covington who will match up against Phoenix, but this series just screams for PG. The Suns are 8-0 with Kevin Durant, and they move on. Golden State over the Kings in 7. But first, today's sponsor is SoRare. I want to thank you guys because we have about 1,600 members in my private SoRare league. I want to shout out this week's winner. It is Wilburbeast. But NBA playoff gameplay is here on SoRare NBA. In addition to normal weekly gameplay, there's a postseason long playoff tournament that's cumulatively scored throughout the entire tournament. But the playoff tournament has real-life prizes for SoRare managers that finish at or near the top of the tournament leaderboards, worth a total of more than $100,000 in prizes. So let me show you what my lineup is this week. I'm starting with Kawhi because he is going to have such a load to carry against the Suns. Jaylen Brown, who's played awesome all year. I think Dennis Schroeder will play a lot of minutes over D'Angelo Russell. Desmond Bane will be key, and Robert Covington. I want you guys to set your playoff lineups every single week. Enter the playoff tournament. Terms apply, and you can read the game rules on SoRare.com, but enter my private league. Join now. Link is in the description. Who has the best net rating in the West the last 3 months? Oh, it's the Warriors. Who has the worst defense in the entire playoffs? Oh, it's the Kings. Also, while Sacramento has De'Aaron Fox in his playoff debut, and Domantas Sabonis was 0-3 in the first round as a Pacer, Golden State has Steph, Clay, and Draymond. But it goes to 7 games because Golden State is going to have to play 2 bigs at a time, Draymond and Looney, to match up with Domantas Sabonis. That will limit their offense so much, and Steph is going to have to play like an MVP. Also, Andrew Wiggins is a question mark. He will use this series to ramp back up, but I think it goes to 7 for the Warriors. Memphis over the Lakers in 7. We will hear so much about how different the Lakers are since trading Russell Westbrook. Oh, since then they are second in net rating in the West. When someone says that to you, look at their schedule. They had like the softest schedule after the trade deadline. Anthony Davis is going to have to be a beast all 7 games and stay healthy. Do you trust that against Jaren Jackson Jr.? The longer this goes, the worse it is for 38-year-old LeBron and brittle AD. Also, their 3-point shooting will be awful. D'Lo is a no-show in the playoffs. Malik Beasley is slumping. That was the main problem the Lakers had at the beginning of the year when they were awful. East 2nd round. The Bucks over the Cavs in 6. I think the Cavaliers' inexperience will beat them with Evan Mobley, who's taken a huge leap, but it's in his first playoffs. And they have 0 depth. Karis LeVert is okay, but Ricky Rubio is washed. And Danny Green, really? The Bucks, though, are one of the deepest teams in the NBA, with Jay Crowder playing well recently. Oh, and you know, they have the best player in the world. Boston over Philly in 6. The Sixers signed PJ Tucker for this series. He will be a dog on Jason Tatum the entire time, but the problem is they have another MVP type guy in Jaylen Brown. What are the Sixers gonna do? And getting the 3 seed was so tough for Philly. They would have to go through Boston and through Milwaukee to make the finals, and Game 7 at home is a huge deal. But ultimately, this comes down, doesn't it, to James Harden and Doc Rivers. If you're leaning on them in a big moment, you cannot pick this team. West 2nd round, the Suns beat the Nuggets, and it only takes 5 games. Nikola Jokic's defense is about to get exposed. Dude is a horrible rim protector, and Phoenix is going to space out, forcing him to defend the perimeter. Oh, and Jamal Murray's defense is suspect, and he has amazing guards to face. The Nuggets need Jamal Murray to play like he's in the bubble, but that was a fluke. And so was Denver's record this year. They had a lot of injury luck. And they have the 15th worst defense in the NBA. Nobody since 2003 has won anything outside of a top 11 defense. And the Grizzlies win the rematch against the Warriors in 7. The spiciest series this year. They hate each other. Dylan Brooks against Draymond will be so much fun. But I think home court advantage is gigantic if this thing goes to 7. The Warriors are the worst road team in the playoffs. And missing Steven Adams isn't that big of a deal against this team. Now, not having Brandon Clark matters, but the Warriors aren't the same roster either as last year. Oh, and Memphis can go small too, with Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Luke Kennard, who's shooting over 50% from 3 lately, and Jaren Jackson. In the East Conference Finals, Boston beats the Bucks in 7. My hardest series to predict, but it's very close to what happened last year. Chris Middleton, a no-show. But Milwaukee took it to 7, losing in Boston. This year, the Bucks have home court, but the Celtics are better. They should have Robert Williams all 7 games. That didn't happen last year. Derek White is such a better player than last season, and they didn't have the 6th man of the year, Malcolm Brogdon. I know the Celtics had down moments this year, but they still never lost more than 3 games in a row. It is their time, especially with a banged up Middleton. In the West Finals, the Suns beat the Grizz in 6. Are we overthinking this? I mean, isn't Phoenix just the best team in the West? Look at this ridiculous shot chart from Kevin Durant. Red is elite, best in the NBA. Yellow is average. So even on his worst shots, he is still league average. He's the first player ever to shoot 55, 40, 90. Arguably KD's best season ever. The Grizz had to deal with DeAndre Ayton in the post against a thin front court. No Steven Adams matters now. They have just Triple J and Xavier Tillman. Not to mention Devin Booker. When he was healthy, the Suns had a 52 win pace this year. Better than the Grizzlies. And in the finals, Boston wins over the Suns in 6. This comes down to the C's being a complete team on both ends, while Phoenix is just elite on offense. The last 25 years, only 2 teams have been top 2 in offense and defense. It was the Warriors in 2015 and 2017. Both won the title. And for all the talk about Joe Mazzulla's coaching, this man called the least amount of timeouts of any coach. He was letting his players figure it out for themselves. Oh, they could have just tried to win as many games in the regular season, but no, he was letting them work out their problems so they won't melt down in the finals like they did last year. Tatum and Brown will have to be at their best, but they were all season. One team not in the playoffs is the Pelicans, but Zion has a serious new problem he has to figure out. Check it out.